Hiking along tourist trails and relaxing in comfortable hotels gets boring at some point. And inquisitive travelers go in search of something new and unexplored. And there are so many amazing places that it can take a lifetime to see them. Some of them appeared millions of years ago and have already been well studied by scientists, while others were discovered quite recently and still raise more questions than answers. Some natural anomalies defy logical explanation. This issue is not going to be a top 5. I want to show you more of these amazing places, because each of them is amazing for its own reasons. The water in it has a rich pink color, and its hue changes depending on the time of the day and turns purple or orange. Once the finish line of the Paris-Dakar rally was on the shores of Retba, and the locals also extract salt in it. The concentration of the lake surpasses even the famous Dead Sea, though to lie in its waters with a book in hand is not possible. After a few minutes the salt begins to corrode the skin. The reason for such an unusual color of the Senegal lake is due to the cyanobacteria, which feed on salt. They need a certain spectrum of sunlight to live, which they attract and produce a pink pigment. Retba is no more than 10 feet deep and about 1.24 miles long. If you get to this fabulous place, it is better to spend a few days here to observe how the shade of the water of Lake Retba changes. There are many comfortable hotels in the Grand Côte Resort area. A magical and mysterious place that only nature can create is located near the American town of Page, Arizona. Antelope Canyon got its name for the unusual color of the crevices, which resemble the red color of this animal. Although the place is amazing, it is not part of a national park, so there are not as many tourists as, for example, the Grand Canyon. The rights to the land where Antelope Canyon is located belong to the Navajo Indians, and to visit this natural wonder, you must pay to enter the area and hire a guide. The magical pattern on the sandy cliffs is a credit to wind and rain. Over the centuries, the crevasses of the canyon have deepened by hundreds of meters. The best time to visit this unusual place is autumn and spring. It is during these periods the sun most deeply illuminates the canyon from the inside, and the sight is very impressive. On their own, to be in the canyon is forbidden. This is due to the fact that during a heavy downpour, it quickly fills with water, and it is almost impossible to get out of it. Victoria Falls in South Africa is 1,708 meters wide and 108 meters high. Water falls across the width of the Zambezi River into a chasm formed in the basalt plateau. On the crest of the falling water are the islands of Livingstone and Boarook, which are not flooded even during a full flood of the Zambezi. Flooding peaks in April, when the spray can be seen from a distance of 48 kilometers and rises to a height of 400 meters. The first European to see this spectacular sight was Scottish missionary and explorer David Livingstone in 1855. The island from which he watched the falling waters was later named in his honor. David gave the waterfall the name of Queen Victoria of England. Since 1980, however, Zimbabwe became an independent state, and the locals renamed their landmark. In the local vernacular, the name of the waterfall sounds like Mosi Oatunia, which means rumbling smoke. A sea of stars or a glowing beach awaits tourists vacationing in the Maldives. An unusual phenomenon can be observed at Ra Atoll on the island of Vodhu. As night falls, the water seems to be illuminated by millions of lights. The cause of this light show is plankton. In single-celled organisms, chemical processes take place that trigger the process of bioluminescence. During the reproduction of the algae, the color of the water becomes like milk, turning a blue hue, and the glow is visible even from space. However, do not take any chances and swim in seawater. Plankton releases toxic substances that are dangerous to humans. For this reason, the island does not have a large number of vacationers. People come here only to admire the Sea of Stars. Cotton Castle is what the locals call this unusual place. Thermal springs, located in the Turkish province of Denizli, really resemble the boxes of cotton. Since 1988, Pamukkale is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The entire plateau is covered with smooth travertine resembling shells, bowls and lilies. According to legend, Cleopatra herself bathed in the pool, which is still open for bathing today. The therapeutic properties of water are due to its composition. It contains carbon dioxide, magnesium, bicarbonate and calcium sulfate. But it is strictly forbidden to bathe in travertine blue water. Walking on the territory of the cotton fortress will have to be barefoot. Entering shoes is also prohibited. Logically, the dry deserts should be in countries with hot climates. But it turns out that this is not the case. There are valleys in Antarctica where precipitation has not fallen for 2 million years. The dry valleys are the area of the three valleys of the Victoria Land near McMurdo Strait. This ice-free dry valley covers 8,000 kilometers. This is despite the fact that Lake Vida and Onyx, the longest river in Antarctica, are very close by. The reason for this unique natural phenomenon is the katabatic winds. In the dry valleys their speed reaches 199 miles per hour, a record for the planet Earth. Under their influence moisture evaporates, so the desert territory was not covered with snow or ice for almost 8 million years. It is noteworthy that the dry valleys are as close to the climatic conditions of Mars, which is why NASA chose their territory for testing the Viking satellites. Since 2004, the site has been under UNESCO protection. A geological phenomenon can be observed at the bottom of the dried-up Lake Racetrack Playa, which is located in Death Valley. It is a clay flat plain, over which large rocks are slowly moving. The footprints left behind confirm this fact. Despite years of research, scientists have never been able to find a credible explanation for this phenomenon. At first, they attributed the movements of the stones to storms, but it turns out that the boulders also move in the direction of the wind. In 2010, to put an end to this question, NASA employees went to the valley. They suggested that at night the surface of the plain is covered with a thin layer of ice, which makes it easier for the rocks to slide. There is also the idea that the phenomenon is related to geomagnetic fields. Some travelers claim to have felt very uncomfortable in this place. To date, research into the anomaly continues. King Country is a sparsely populated region of New Zealand known for its nature. It is here that the famous Waitomo caves are located. This suggests that the natural site, located 12 kilometers from the small village of Te Ikaiti, is about 30 million years old. Waitomo means water flowing through a crevice in the local vernacular. The system combines about 300 caves of different sizes. In 1887, thanks to the English traveler Fred Mace of the caves Waitomo, the world learned about. The Dutcher was interested in the unusual glowing ceiling, and with the permission of the leader of the Maori tribe, he continued to study this amazing natural object. The cause of this phenomenon are fungal mosquitoes of the genus Arachnocampa luminosa. Their larvae weave nests of silk on the ceiling and hang down threads with droplets of sticky liquid, highlighting them with their bodies, so they attract small insects. In 1910, next to the caves was built a hotel for tourists. It is noteworthy that it receives guests even today. In 1989, the rights to Waitomo were returned to the descendants of the chief, who receive a small fee for tourist visits and are actively involved in the development of the cave system. Lassen Volcanic National Park is located in the state of California. And while scientists and seismologists are attracted to the volcanoes, curious tourists are attracted to the more colorful spectacle. The multicolored dunes near Sindarkhan volcano resemble a scene from a fairy tale movie. But the explanation for this phenomenon is quite simple. Volcanic ash during the eruption was a dense layer on the red-hot lava, and the oxidation process took place. Hence colorful stripes on the surface of the dunes. Sindarkhan volcano has long been considered dormant, but its gift attracts travelers from around the world. The sight is so breathtaking that it's hard to believe what you're seeing is real. A dried-up salt lake in South America is an incredibly beautiful and amazing place. But when you go there, don't forget to bring sunglasses. The salt lake of Uyuni is so shimmering and glistening that it begins to sting your eyes after just a few minutes. From November to March, when the rainy season is here, the lake turns into a mirror of gigantic proportions. The dried bottom of the lake is covered by a layer of transparent water, in which the sky is reflected, and it becomes difficult to understand where the horizon is. Another interesting feature of the salt marsh is that when the salt crust dries out, water erupts. Thanks to this eruption, small cone-shaped volcanoes form on the surface. Tourists who have been to Uyuni say they are particularly impressed by hotels made entirely of salt. It turns out that in such a place you can comfortably spend the night. It is difficult to describe in one video all the unusual and amazing places of our planet. Some of them a tourist can visit without much difficulty, while others require a traveler's great courage and physical strength. One thing is clear: nature is a creator whose wonders never cease to amaze.